Hi, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well with studying and finals and everything. Thanks for joining us tonight for our life story series. Life stories, basically, we have believers in Long Beach just share with us about their experience in the Lord. And so tonight we have Mark and Nicole Hernandez, which everyone I think knows Mark and Nicole. Um, yeah, you've probably been around them pre-COVID because their home's always open. Yeah, so tonight they like to open up a little bit and share with us about their journey in the Lord.
Also, pay attention and try to think of questions so that it's not awkward afterwards. We'll have time afterwards to ask anything you want. Gonna put them in the hot seat. Heads up.
All right, take it away.
Okay, thanks, you guys. Okay, so just a little brief introduction. My name is Mark, and this is my wife, Nicole. And we've been married in April. In April, it will be 28 years. And we've been in Long Beach, actually 27 of those 28 years. And we have 3 children, and our oldest is Hannah. Hannah has been married for a couple years, and she has she's been married, and her husband's name is David, and they have a child named Evelyn. That's our first and only granddaughter. And then Sarah got married a few months ago, and she also lives in Texas with her husband, Jeff. And then Conrad, most of you know, is a student at Cal State Long Beach living at the brother's house. So Nicole and I are going to do kind of a tag team. We'll go back and forth, but I'll start it off. Just a quick background. I'm the oldest of 5 boys. So, and we are very close in age. You've heard of Irish twins. Well, this is like Hispanic quintuplets. I mean, I have 5 brothers and like 7. Oldest to youngest is like 7 years. So we're all pretty close. I grew up in a Catholic home. We weren't practicing Catholics, but I went to I went to mass every Sunday with my dad and my brothers. And my mom normally didn't go. She slept in, but it was just something my dad did on Sundays. We'd get up, we walked to the Catholic church, was about half a mile away, and then we go to mass and go back. And but it just wasn't real to me. It was kind of dead. It was just there, that the extent of the church was going on Sundays. That was it. That was it. I mean, that's all. I mean, it was either Spanish mass, English mass. Stand up, sit down, take a knee. It didn't matter. It was all kind of the same thing. And I don't even know if I remember much of what was said. I remember a couple of the songs, and that's about it. Our family was very much into sports. You can imagine with 5 boys, we were very, very competitive. And not only were the boys involved, I mean, our whole family. I mean, my dad was like president of the Little League. My mom was, always the team mom. And, Saturdays, we were like all day at the baseball field, keeping score, having a game, whatever it was. We just did that, and that kind of lifestyle bled all the way through high school, right? So now I'm in high school, and kind of the same thing, doing sports, and it kind of kept me kind of focused on what I was doing. I got a little more serious as I was getting into high school about sports, and so it just kind of gave me something to do. It was kind of like my hobby, and my whole family was into it, so it was kind of neat. Well, when I got into high school, a lot of my friends were in this club called Young Life, and I don't know if many of you heard of it, but it's a Christian club, and so I knew a lot of them were in Young Life because they'd pass out these flyers, and it's a Young Life tonight at so-and-so's house. They'd have it at different people's house. So, I'd see the flyers, and I knew some people that would go, and I'd ask every single one of them, hey, what's Young Life? And their patent answer was, come and find out. Come and find out. So I'd ask every single one, hey, what's Young Life? Come and find out. No, come on, just tell me, what's Young Life? Just come and find out, So that was their thing. I was either gonna not go, or I was gonna go and find out, because none of that, they weren't not gonna tell me what Young Life was. So I guess curiosity got the best of me. So I went to find out. And I still remember the first meeting I went, and I showed up at this house, and there was about 50, 60 high school students, and we all just sat in the small living room on the floor, and we just started singing songs to Jesus. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is, this is a trip, And then, they do a couple funny skits, and then at the end, the guy stands up and talks about Jesus for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I loved it. For the first time, all that deadness of the Catholic Church just kind of went away. I was like, wow, this is what they were trying to do. I should bring all the people from the Catholic Church here. This is what they were looking for. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I really got involved. My sophomore year, in the winter of my sophomore year, the wintertime, I remember one of the leaders that became a friend of mine. His name's Joe Lodico, and he took me to eat at this Rick's quarter pound burger in Uptown Whittier, and it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And every time Nicole and I are in Uptown Whittier, we always go to Rick's. We never buy anything because it's a grease pit, but I say, hey, there it is. That's where it happened, But he asked me. He said, hey, Mark, do you want to be a Christian? And I said, yes, I want to be a Christian. And from then on, I was gun ho, into Young Life, And so I did that for, high school, played sports, Young Life, kind of took up all my time. I also, there was another group after a while, there was another group in Young Life. They were actually called the Campaigners. And the Campaigners were like, these guys just didn't go to these meetings for the club. It was an actual like Bible study. So I was part of that group also, right? And so after that, I got involved in a church, in a free church, and so I was just doing that, and then after high school, I didn't really have any direction. I was my parents weren't like, hey, you got to go to college, you got to do this, they weren't really pushing me. I don't think they really had a concept of college too much. But I really didn't have a concept. So I took like a class, and I just worked. I was working. I was, odd jobs here and there. And then one day, this guy from my church said, "Hey, Mark, I need somebody to work. Do you need some work?" And I said, "Yeah, I need some work." So I worked for him. I worked for him again. Anyways, long story short, I got on his crew. He had a painting company. And so and this guy, his name was Steve. He was a graduate of Talbot Theological Seminary, and he, but he never, but he just went into business after that. He got his degree in this, and then he started this painting company, and so I was on his crew, and there was about 5 or 6 guys, and we'd go, we just paint these old houses in Uptown Whittier. Well, these guys, well, at the time too, also, I was involved in Bible studies. I thought I knew a lot about the Bible. I thought I knew a lot about Christianity, but listening to these guys I was working with, I mean, they were very educated, and they knew a lot about the Bible, about theology, about doctrine, and they were, and they would, you know, you're 8 hours painting. I mean, you can imagine you're just talking the whole time. And so they really piqued my interest because they were talking about things that that just kind of blew my mind. Like I had no idea about these things, right? So, all of them went to Biola University. You know, they're all students at Biola University. I was the only one really not a student there. So in my heart, I said, I got to get to Biola. I got to go to the school. And so a long story short, I ended up going to Biola. I ended up there. I didn't know how I was going to afford it. It was a very expensive school. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but anyways, I mean, that's a story for another time. I ended up going to that school. And while in that school was a very preserving environment. I mean, you can imagine it was 2,000 Christians, and I would say for the most part, they were both genuine believers. They really loved the Lord. The things we did, it was kind of a wholesome environment. I mean, we had fun. I had a great time. I wouldn't change anything about my time in school, but I just really enjoyed that time, and it was just a real preserving environment.
Plus, he met me there.
And I met, you know, this lady. So it's been 10 minutes, so I'm going to end here, but I'm just going to share a couple of photos. So this is me on the left, and that's me at about 10 years old, and this is Nicole at about 10 years old. Okay, and the next one is this is about the time. This is about a year after I became a Christian. So I'm about 16 here, maybe 15, on a camping trip with the family. Got my Young Life shirt on. And should I stop there? Okay, and the next one. Okay, and the next one is Nicole's going to lead up to this part, and this is when I met Nicole. We were in college here, and this is in Honduras. We were on a trip to Honduras together. But I'm gonna stop there so Nicole can go, and then we'll share the rest of the photos.
Okay. So I'm just going to try to tell you like a few key things too about my just coming to know the Lord. My parents, unfortunately, were divorced when I was just 2 years old. I had an older brother. He was 4 years older than me. And shortly after they got divorced, my dad was radically saved. He became a Christian. And this guy was like the epitome of the hippie surfer, SoCal guy. Yeah, he spent all of his time at the beach. He was a lifeguard. He started as a beach lifeguard. He ended up being a rescue boat operator in Long Beach. But one thing I have to tell you about his salvation, because I think it'll be an encouragement to you as a college student. So he had a partner at work. He's like, my dad was probably 22. So his partner at work, they would drive the Jeep around on the beach. And his partner said, sorry, but you're going to have to listen to me read every morning because I always read my Bible and I have to read it out loud. And so my dad was an unbeliever. I think they went to the Methodist church on Woodruff and wherever here in Long Beach. And the extent of his church going in his younger years was his dad would drop him off at the church, and then they would go out the back door with their tithing money and go to the donut shop. So that was my dad. So anyway, so this guy, his partner, would read the Bible, and eventually that was a huge part of him getting saved. Can you imagine? Just ask your friend who's not a Christian if you can just read your Bible out loud. Anyways, it saved him. So when I was 4, my dad shared the Lord with me. I know it was little, but I really believe, and he thinks I really had an understanding, and I received the Lord and asked him to come and live in my heart. And I think I genuinely got saved when I was 4. So I saw my dad and my stepmom on the weekends. So they would take me to meetings for children. They would take me to their meetings, and I loved it. I loved the Lord. And then when I was 8 years old, I got involved in gymnastics. So I was a gymnast for 10 years, and I would go to gymnastics Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday night from 5:30 in the evening to 9 o'clock at night, and Saturdays 8:30 to noon every day. So that was my life. Gymnastics was my life. But I wouldn't change doing gymnastics. Of course, I wanted to go to the Olympics, but that never happened. But three things that I think it did for me was it preserved me. Just kind of like Mark, sports really kept us kind of busy in a positive way and kind of kept us out of trouble, I think. So looking back now, you just really see the Lord's mercy in using sports, to keep us. And it also taught me how to be disciplined, because so much time, like in the gym, I had to come straight home from school, do my homework. I didn't really have time to mess around. And then it helped me too to like set goals in my life. So early on, I had a lot of goals because of gymnastics. So anyways, when I was 14, I took a little break from gymnastics and I wanted to try other sports, but no other sport took as much time as gymnastics. So all of a sudden I found myself with a little extra time on my hands. And that was actually the year I kind of rebelled and did a few things that were really out of character. I'll never forget one time, one of my friends was a TA in the office. I don't know if any of you had TAs in the office, but so he would write out of school early passes for a few of us. And then we'd all meet up on the corner and then go to the girl's house down the street, who had a lot of money and a lot of fun things at her house. And so there'd be like a group of guys and girls. Anyways, I did some things that I'm not really happy with, but I feel like the Lord used that year to kind of turn me around. I don't even remember what it was when I kind of woke up from that. I started gymnastics again when I was about 15. So my year off, I went back. And then the summer before my high school year, I just kind of had a fresh turn to the Lord. So who was praying for me? Probably my dad. Anyways, I had to turn to the Lord. I just kind of gave myself to the Lord again, going into high school. And then during that time, I was really involved with other Christians. I just kind of like Mark, surrounded myself with Christians, people who had the same kind of heart. And that really kept me, sports kept me. One thing that really kept me in high school, I was in a small group with other girls my age, and we had a leader, and I thought she was so much older, but I think she was like 25. So don't despise your age. She was like 25 and she was heading up this like group of high school girls. And we just would read the Bible together. She would answer all our hard questions. We'd pray for each other, and it was really awesome. And then also in high school, I was involved I went on a couple of mission trips. I went to like Mexico City for a couple of weeks. I went to Guatemala, and I think seeing those things really helped me, preserved me. Let's see what time it is. Okay, real quick. I had a boyfriend in high school. So my junior year, I met this guy. It started as like helping each other with math because we were in math together. And he was really cute. Okay. He was really nice, super thoughtful, like
Cuter than me. No.
not as cute, but not as thoughtful as him now, of course. But I thought, so he was like, and he would help me with my math homework. I mean, that was awesome. So anyways, we ended up being together my junior year. And I mean, it was like a match made in heaven, apparently. And I knew I wanted to be with someone who was a believer. So he said he believed in God. He said he believed God, in God. But really, that was kind of the extent of it. And I kind of just kept not lying to myself, but thinking this could work. And then at the end of my junior year, it was the Lord really just opening my eyes that this person that I was spending so much time with was didn't have the same heart for the Lord. He to him, it was just like something he did on Sunday, but for me, it was like something, it was my life, I wanted the Lord to be my life. And so there wasn't a match there, but it outwardly, it didn't make sense. Like to my friends, anyone else, like they didn't understand why I would break up with him. And he was apparently devastated when I broke up with him. So devastated that 2 weeks later, he got together with one of my best friends in high school. So anyways, I think I made the right choice. Don't you, honey? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And so fast forward, wanted to go to a Christian university because I thought that's where I could get to know the Lord the best. So I was applied to Wheaton, which is way over in the Midwest in Illinois, and then and to Biola University. And so I got a scholarship to Biola. So Biola it was. So I moved in 45 minutes away but at La Mirada. But anyways, it was far enough away. Yeah, so then Mark and I met because we had both, through friends, we didn't know each other yet, but our friends were going on this trip to Honduras because there was this village in Honduras that needed a water system. And so we signed up, both of us signed up, and there was about 25 of us or something that were going to go. And so we started meeting at the beginning of my freshman year, and we met for like the whole first semester because the trip was going to be spring break. And so we had a lot of times together, meetings, getting prepared and ready for our trip. So that's kind of how Mark and I met. Is that it? Was I going to say?
You were gonna say they'd have to come over. Okay.
Oh yeah, and then you'll have to come over to our house for dinner if you want to hear about how we ended up dating and getting married. And
The
stuff.
juicy details.
Yeah, there was a forklift involved in his
Oh, yeah.
asking me to get married. So you'll have to ask us about that later. But I don't think we have time for that. It's already 8:25. So fast forward, we got married. We spent a year in La Habra in a small church there. Then we moved to Long Beach and we got involved with a Christian church just down the street. And we were involved in Bible studies. We, we weren't just a Sunday couple. We really wanted to be involved with other Christians. But
Is this my part now?
yeah.
Okay. So a couple things, through my, shoot, how can I say this? Okay. So since I became a Christian, I surrounded myself with Christian people, right? And my dad even said, hey, Mark, I mean, if he said this 100 times, I wouldn't be surprised. He said, Mark, you are what your friends are. So I always took that to heart. So I was surrounded myself with ever since I became a Christian, I surrounded myself with Christian people. Okay, so at this time it was no different. I mean, we were going to a church down the street. We had a Bible study in our house. We met in a kind of a small group. We were even going to another Bible study off the 22. I can't remember what city, but anyways, the point is we were involved. We were really involved. Well, a couple things happened that even made us even more desperate and more seeking. So actually, it was several things, but we'll just go over. I'm just going to bring up two things. One time we were at my father-in-law's house, and we were just visiting, Nicole and I, newly married, but weren't married that long, and these three college girls were coming back from a college conference, and they were also staying at my father-in-law's place and my mother-in-law, and they just came back from this conference. Well, I mean, that night they were, we were praying a little bit at dinner. They told us about this conference, and I mean, needless to say, they were on fire. I mean, they were just they were glowing. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were so excited. Their prayers, it was incredible. Like Nicole and I had never seen anything like that. So,
but they weren't like crazy and weird, but
they
were just flowing out,
yeah.
Like all their enjoyment of the Lord and what they gained from the conference. Yeah. And then Mark and I were laying in bed that night and we were like, wait a second, we just graduated from a Christian university, but like, I feel like they like have this vision, or they like saw something, and like, what do they have? Like, what is different about them? Right. We just kind of were.
Yeah. So that was one of the major things that happened.
So that was like an encouragement to you college students. Don't despise your portion. Here we already had a few kids, they were a lot younger than us, but like they just were faithful to share what they enjoyed. And I mean, like basically that changed our destiny, I feel like. So it was amazing.
So one other thing that happened is we went to a service one day, and
like a church
meeting, and it was like Father's Day or something, or Father's Day the next day or something. Anyways, this guy gave a sermon on like 5 or 10 ways or whatever to become a better father, right? And I mean, it was all good. It was good, nothing bad, but it was just so shallow. So, it just lacked a bite. I mean,
It left us really hungry.
yeah, it left
right?
us really hungry. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a very big responsibility to be a better father, but it was just very weak. Like if there was, I don't even remember if there was a verse involved, but I remember leaving there and telling Nicole, hey, you could have been a Buddhist, a monk, whatever, and you could have said amen to that meeting. So that was another thing that just got us thinking, man, what are we doing? But what it did is make us more desperate to seek believers that want to pursue the Lord the same way we do. And
a couple of things, and real quick, we'll finish. I know it's already 8:30, but just a couple of things I think that were a key to us like going on. So, I mean, I don't want to talk about like where we were and where we went, but basically we just found a group of people who just really pursued the Lord, and we wanted to be involved as much as we could. And I'll never forget, actually, so even though we wanted to be involved, we didn't know how to get involved, but it was college students again who like kind of captured our heart and were really a factor in us pursuing the Lord more. And there was some students who were going to a Bible school, and they were also preaching the gospel at Long Beach City College, which is just down the street from our house. And so one of them called me and was like, hey, any chance we can come to your house on Thursday, and maybe we'll bring our lunch and we'll bring some students from LBCC, and we'll just kind of hang out there. And I was like, and I had like 2 small kids, maybe 3. No, I had 3 kids at that time, and they were little. And I said, yeah, Mark, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, sure, if you're okay with that. And so, yeah, they came. So anyways, that became like a regular thing. Every Thursday they would come. Then I started making lunch for them. They would bring, and then we started making a deal like, oh, you can't come to lunch unless you bring a new one, like a new student, like you got to find a new student to come. And like they would come, we'd be sitting around the table eating, and then like there'd be a new one, and we'd share a few verses, and someone got saved like someone got saved at my table. And you guys, that there's nothing that makes your joy more full when someone gets saved, like at your table, right next to you. Like when you experience that, you realize, wow, this is what real joy is. So anyway, so that really preserved us, all these college students coming into our house. And then another college student. Anyways, and this other college student, life was getting busy again. You kind of get into a rut. Our kids were in sports. We're driving everywhere. We're trying to get food on the table, get them to their sporting practice, whatever. We don't have very much time to meet up with believers anymore, it seems like. And there was this student who kept calling, when can I come over for dinner? And I'm like, I really don't have time. I just don't have time. I don't think we have one night a week where you could come for dinner. No, really, I really want to come for dinner. She kept calling and calling. And finally I was like, okay, you can come, but I mean, we're just going to eat, and it's going to be 20 minutes, and then I got to take someone to swim. And then so she came, and basically she worked her way into our heart, and she would just come with me to drive the kids places. But so don't give up, college students. You have to, don't wait for someone to invite you to their home. Like you all need homes. The Christian life isn't meant to be lived alone. And we didn't really do much. Like we don't know much, we're not so eloquent with like preaching the gospel and stuff or sharing the Lord with people, but all the college students who've been in our home have really helped us to go on in our Christian life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I guess, is that okay? What else do you want to know?
Is this the awkward part?
This is the awkward no question part.
No, that was good. Thank you for sharing. No, we've all been over and we've all been helped. So it's definitely been a mutual help or going on in the Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we can open up for questions.
Oh, let me before you open up, let me show you the rest of the pictures. So this is Nicole and I when
screenshots.
we were in Honduras, and we had just met. Actually, we had been in a lot of prep meetings together, but That's when we first met.
But we're all sweaty and gross because we were carrying PVC pipes up and down like the mountainside, and it was hot and humid in Honduras. Okay, go on.
Okay.
Okay, that's
This is the big day right here when Nicole and I got married.
check the dress. Wow.
This is the fam, early fam. Okay, and this is the recent fam right here. Everyone's included.
Yep.
Okay, so we are ready for questions.
Cool. So yeah, just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to send it over the chat, or you can unmute yourself, also ask. But if you'd like to remain anonymous, you can also direct message it over. We can read it out loud. But maybe to start off, we could start with a question. So something that we were wondering, you mentioned, having that hunger, that desperation and seeking. So I guess for some of us, I guess we're wondering how did you maintain that hunger and even that seeking spirit over all these years?
Well, I personally think that that we've been very blessed. I think the Lord has set up situations for us that have made us, desperate at times, but also, open to Him, open to some kind of word or some kind of person coming into our life to shepherd us. I'll give you a quick example. We had, we were young parents, and we didn't know the first thing about, raising a kid. We just had the example of our parents, which, I don't know, everyone thinks their parents aren't good parents till later they realize, yeah, they're not that bad. But we were kind of desperate, like, man, we have a kid, we don't even know what we're doing, right? So anyways, we were at a wedding and Nicole said, hey, I know somebody who's got 3 boys and they're all like super smart and they're all good in school. And I was like, we got to talk to this guy. And so we went to this wedding and Nicole goes, there's the guy I'm telling you about. There he is right there. So we start walking. So we're like it was very beautiful vineyard, anyways, I'm babbling, but it was at this bed and breakfast, the wedding was there. And here comes that guy walking and Nicole and I are standing right there. So we're like, so Nicole goes, that's the guy right there. So we stop him, Nicole introduces me and we said, hey, we have a kid. We don't really know what we're doing. Like, did you have a plan, because Nicole and I have always, since we got married, we've always had a plan, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what, okay.
But his question was about hunger.
Right. So this guy spent like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, telling us his whole plan, how he raised his kids with a plan. So that gave us a hunger to like, hey, one of the things was like, one of these pillars, he had these 6 pillars, but one of them was like, hey, we have to raise them in the Lord. We have to raise them. The Lord has given you this child for a certain amount of time, and you have to give them back. So you have a limited amount of time to impart Christ in this kid, right? And so that makes you more desperate. That makes you more hungry. So like, hey, I have to go on. The Lord's given me a responsibility for, this one. Okay, now we have another one. Now we have 3. It's like, man, talk about, getting hungry. You need to get hungry.
For me, really simply, I didn't have much of a hunger. I knew I needed to read my Bible, but yeah, having kids like makes you a little more desperate. But I just remember starting to just pray, Lord, you have to give me a hunger for the word. And so I just started really small, like 5 minutes. And then it was amazing. Like it just increased your appetite. He did it. You just ask him and he'll do it. Yeah. You guys can ask us a hard question too. And then Isaac will answer it.
I have a question. So Mark and Nicole, for your parents, how supportive were they for you? Mark, your parents being Catholic, maybe not that pursuing. It seems like you just had full range of whatever you wanted to do towards the Lord. Were they ever like saying, "Whoa, slow down, son, you're going a little too strong there"? Nicole, did you similar, just always just encouraging you along those lines?
Yeah, that's a good question. My parents did not stop me from following this group this Young Life group that I got involved with at all. But yes, you're right. There was a point when they're like, "Hey, maybe that's a little too much. Maybe you need to slow down." Now I'm going to a Bible study. I'm going to Young Life one night a week. I'm going to Bible study one night a week. Okay, now I'm going to this other one. So there was a point when they were, when my dad especially was like, "Hey, take a step back."
So what'd you say?
So I mean, my dad, you didn't say no to my dad, and so it was like, okay, Dad, you have to obey your parents. That's how I feel. So I did. I mean, I just said, "Okay, Dad." I didn't really take a step back, but I wasn't as I don't know. It worked out. It worked out. But you're right. There was a point when my parents were like, "Hey, is this guy going over the deep end or what?" But in my heart, I knew I was just pursuing the Lord.
Mhm.
I was just, I had this hunger. Something woke up in me my sophomore year in high school, and so I was gonna pursue it.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're right. That's a good question. There was a point, but I did honor my parents, and just and it wasn't like, "No, you can't do that anymore." It would be more like, "Hey, they're going on a trip this weekend for this," and my parents would be like, "Hey, don't you think that's a little too much? Maybe you should whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, can't go on that trip. Not a big deal. I'll go to the next one." So it didn't become an issue. I think maybe if I would have fought it, it might have been an issue, but it was not.
For me, because my mom and my stepdad weren't believers, so like his parents weren't either. So yeah, I was spending a lot of my time, and I don't know I don't know. At points, I didn't think my mom believed me. I'm like, "Mom, I'm just with some Christians. We're doing healthy things." I think she kind of was like, "Where are you? What are you doing? Why are you spending so much time with these people?" Like she just didn't understand. But because I was a good student and wasn't getting into trouble, I think I had earned their trust. So they were okay with me, doing things, even letting me go to Mexico City when I was a senior in high school, in Guatemala. So, but then, yeah, I mean, we've come across a few roadblocks, some persecution from family members, like, "Okay, you guys are taking it a little too far," but just feel like the Lord's covering has taken care of us, yeah, I don't know if that answers it, Charles, but. Okay, there's a question. It says, "How do you invite yourself as a college student? Like over to somebody's house?" Yeah, like, so now you know us, so you could invite us or ask us if we know anyone, who do you know that maybe even during COVID's okay with having a student over? Because now it's like we're in this whole other situation. So, we need to respect how everyone's handling this. So, but I do know of families who are totally okay with maybe having one or two in their home for a meal, or maybe in the backyard. But just ask, just call and ask, just say, "Hey, is it?" And maybe if you're not comfortable asking them to make you dinner, maybe say, "Hey, could I bring a pizza over?" And if you say, "Can I bring a pizza over and have a meal with you?" Their heart's going to be wide open to you guys if you open that way. Yeah.
When I was 17 years old, I was out of the house. I graduated from high school. I was out of the house because there was, like I said, there was 5 boys, and we were packed in this super tiny house. At 16, I was still sleeping in a twin bed with my brother. Okay. So I was like, 17, move out of the house. Oh my gosh, I have this whole twin bed to myself. I was like, oh, I'm gonna stretch out, But but even so, when I was in college, I wanted, I really couldn't go back home. It was just, there was no place, right? So I remember in college, I used to go play basketball at this brother's house, and he had a super nice house in Hacienda Heights over here. So we go play basketball over there, and so I mean, super nice house. Like we'd sit in his nice jacuzzi after playing basketball, and I go, "Wow, Reed, you have a really big house. You have a lot of rooms. Man, I really need a place to stay for the summer. Hey, you think I can paint your garage?" And then I can, and so I weaseled my way into that house, but let me tell you, it was the greatest. It was great being there for, I think I spent 3 summers there, painted his whole house. And I mean, he wouldn't take rent from me. But I, to this day, I still stay in contact with this brother. And it was just a great time.
Mm. Nicole, one comment for you. I don't know if you remember meeting me. I think it was almost 2 years ago at Oleski's house. Mark and I came to a home meeting.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were a gymnast. I was just curious. My Mark was a very gifted runner, and I just feel like the Lord had him in that to kind of preserve him for sure. And he really excelled, but there were so many excuses for meets that didn't go the way he wanted them to. And I just feel like, if he did get a scholarship, and that would just usurp him and take him out of the church life. Do you feel like that's what happened with gymnastics, that again, the Lord used that to preserve you? But then how was that was your heart like really into that? Was that difficult for you to give that up? Or did something happen, injury or something? I was just curious, because I just feel like all of our circumstances are, or are just ordained by the Lord to, bring us into the church life and keep us preserved.
Well, the thing with gymnastics is, I think, I don't know. Because I ended gymnastics when I was about 18, 19. So I was still able to meet with believers. Yeah, I mean, it was a pull, but I think it was okay at that time. It wasn't like it completely became like my God. Like I didn't feel like it replaced the Lord. If anything, it filled my hands with something positive that kept me from a lot of other things that my friends, other friends and stuff were doing.
Sure. Because you mentioned you had thought about the Olympics. That's why I thought, had you gotten to that level.
Yeah, who
you may
knows?
not
I
be
think
where
the
you're
Lord probably did arrange it. I had an injury. I got too tall. There was no way I was going to go. So the Lord had a limit, I think, on it for sure.
Amen. I know at the time when you're going through situations like that, you feel like, man, I really wanted this,
Yeah.
But again, you just feel like,
Yeah.
wow, the Lord has his hand on all of our situations, and
Right.
he knows our hearts and what we need.
Yeah. Oh, it is you, Peter. Hi. Sorry, just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I think we're wanting to end promptly. That was really good. Thank you, Mark and Nicole. It was a good
Thank you.
finals. Anyone that wants to stay on the call and linger and chat, is welcome to.